I think it would be better to learn a bit every day. It's better than doing 3 hours and a half on a Saturday. Now, many people think learning a language is like ingesting new knowledge, when actually it's more similar to physical exercise, like a
Yeah.
sport. That's something that you have to do regularly
Yeah.
and never stop doing, because if you just stop, you lose the shape, let's say.
Welcome, everybody, to a new exciting episode of the Connected by Language podcast, the only show where we find the most dedicated language learners out there and we try to learn from the craft. I am Michele and I'm joined by my co host,
Michelle.
So, for people that are just joining in for the first time, I think it would be pretty nice if we tell them a little bit about ourselves, what languages do we speak, and what we're all about.
Yeah, of course. So I'm Michelle. I'm from Germany. I speak German, English, French, and Spanish. And I work as a language education specialist at Tandem.
Ooh, can you tell us a little bit more of what Tandem is?
Yeah, it's a language exchange app. So whenever you want to exchange languages, you will find people from all over the world in this app. And you can talk to them on one-on-one chats or video calls or even group conversations that we call language parties.
Ooh, I've been using Tandem a little bit myself to learn on my Japanese, and I really recommend it because it's a great way to find new people and get and to know and learn about people that have the same interest as you, but also coming from different cultures, and it's always very fun. But as I wait to introduce myself, hi, my name is Michele. I'm Italian. I speak Italian, French, English, and Japanese, and I'm sort of a nut about learning new cultures, learning new languages, and just talking to people and understanding how they come into this wonderful world of language learning. But let's be completely honest here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like language learning can be extremely fun, but you know what is the biggest challenge of whenever you start learning a language?
The motivation?
It could be that as well, of course, but also it's time.
Ah, yeah.
It's time, because not everybody has a lot of time to learn languages and sit down and take their book and write. Some people have a pretty busy life. They're professionals, and achieving languages can be extremely useful for their work, but they may not find the best way to do it. So we say we take a stop for it, okay? We put an end to it.
Yeah.
Because I do know somebody that has been quite the expert on learning how to become fluent by himself with his self-fluent style in a world of PC lifestyles and long meetings. So, are we ready to jump into this nice discourse?
Yeah, of course.
Yes. So, welcome to the show, Elzo.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, guys. Hi, Michele. Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
Thank you for having me here. I'm quite
Yeah.
excited.
And thank you for taking the time to come to us and to teach us, I guess, or to discuss with us your wonderful little methods that have been working for quite some time, as I know correctly, right?
Yeah, sure. I have my own methods, let's say, but we can talk about them.
So maybe I think for the people that are just watching in and they just are catching this interview, maybe you can tell us a bit about your personal journey and what you're all about. That's a little bit introduction.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Elzo. I'm a Brazilian who lives in Germany. I really are passionate about languages, culture, and traveling in general, also technology. So I try to blend these things in my daily life. Let's say so. I work for a German company as a software engineer, and I has a hobby which is actually learn languages. I can speak 5 languages.
Very
And
impressive.
yeah, I also love traveling. I've been to around 33 countries. Yeah, I think
That's a
that's
lot of countries.
probably.
That is a lot of countries. And I'm very happy that your language skills are helping in these situations, right?
Yeah, sure. They really do help a lot.
So it's very interesting to see, because I want to kind of go, before we go to the meat of the episode about your techniques, I kind of want to learn
Uh-huh.
more about your Brazilian background, because Brazil has a very well-known language, but it can be a little bit hard to find language lovers all around the world. So it would be very interesting to know, what was your first encounter with foreign languages when living in Brazil?
It was quite late, I have to say. And when I grew up in a very small town in the countryside. So I've never seen a tourist over there. no contact at all with foreign people. So, and also at the school, we don't learn other languages to be able to achieve fluency. So I found myself at the age of 22 and could only speak my native language and Portuguese. And my motivation was actually uh, for professional reasons. I was at the university and also doing an internship. Then I saw, well, learn English is going to be important.
Yeah, it is, especially for people coming from not only Latin America, but even other parts of Europe. Like learning English is,
Yeah.
I think nowadays, completely like you have to do it. It's mandatory at this
Mhm.
point.
Exactly. So this was my first time when I really decided to learn a language, and it was English. And that was then my first contact with foreigners and with language learning.
Yeah.
And how did this experience shape the way that you, thought about learning?
Well, uh, actually, I never had the thought of learning a foreign language before. I guess it was the lack of experience, the lack of contact with foreign people.
Yeah.
And what we have in Brazil, which people most do for learning a foreign language, is go to a private English school. And I think that was my first step when I thought about learning English. I started looking at some courses in my school. But in the end, I tried some different things, but this was my first approach because of, let's say, the cultural experience.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people that decided to take that one step and going through the dedicated English learning, universities. It could be also something minor. Like in my case, I had a lot of
Hmm.
English learning subjects in my public education. And this is something interesting because one of the elements that I like to ask whenever people tell about their academic side is, do you think Brazil as a whole, or at least the part of Brazil that you've been in, does its education system, in your opinion, prepare
Hmm.
you well for learning languages, and or did you have to build your schema or your methodologies completely on your own?
No, I would say it doesn't prepare.
Ah,
I mean,
I was hoping for like a nice, like, yeah, actually it's fantastic, but no, I guess
no,
it's
no.
not. And why is that?
I mean, in public schools in Brazil, we do have English,
Mhm.
but it's just few hours. I mean, I guess 50 minutes per week. It was at least in my case.
15?
So
Like 1 5?
50
50 minutes a week. That's still
exactly.
very low, all things considered.
Yeah. So in the end, it was possible to learn some vocabulary, some grammar rules, but it's definitely not possible to learn how to speak it. And many times, even the teacher couldn't speak English.
Mm.
Oh
So
no, that's the worst. Yeah.
yeah, most of kids that do learn English, they have to go to some private English schools.
Yeah. You had a sigh of like you were relating to that. Does that happen in Germany as well, or?
I mean, yes, it
Ah,
does. Even more from my experience as a German, as a foreign language teacher, and I
mhm,
was trying to teach people. Those weren't children, but
mhm.
adults. But just 1 hour a week, and it's just not
It's
enough.
it's not
It
enough.
doesn't get them anywhere. And just like
Yeah.
you said, you might remember some vocabulary, but that's it basically.
Yeah.
And you need to study at home
And
to
I'd
achieve.
even say
Hmm.
that like with only 1 hour in like the day, and that's, yeah, you do remember that vocabulary, but it sort of makes it look like, first of all, it's a burden because a lot of people don't have enough time to truly fall in love with a language. And also I've noticed that a lot of people that only use that type of learning tend to take the languages as some sort of jokes. Like they would make fun of like, oh, the pen is on the table, where is the bathroom, At least that's in my opinion what
For
happens,
sure.
because in my school I was the kid that knows English better than everybody else in my classroom. So it was always funny, the fact that like I would speak normal sentences and everybody was
Hmm.
kind of taking, as you say in the Brits, or taking the piss out of out of the language,
Yeah.
which is a shame because I do believe that language learning is extremely fun, extremely rewarding, also extremely useful. But hey, to each their own, and that's why places like Tandem exist to
Mhm.
allow people to explore that passion for languages completely on their own. So yeah, we can get
For
into
sure.
the meat of this episode, what I think everybody's going to look for whenever they're clicking this episode. you want to do the honors?
Yes, of course. So you became fluent in languages such as English and Spanish, but actually by or even though you were working and studying at the same time. So what motivated you to commit to such high goals and targets?
My motivation was, I would say, about the experiences that I could have if I would learn such a languages, and also professionally. So I was 22 at the university and doing an internship. I heard about some job positions that would require English. Also about some colleagues talking about their business trip to, I guess it was India, which sounded
Oh.
very cool. And also at the university there was some exchange programs abroad. I really
Uh-huh.
wanted to do a semester abroad, and of course for that I needed English. These were my main motivation. So I decided to learn.
So while you said it was professional motivation, but also the traveling part here. Oh,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
related to work. Nice. Yeah, I
Yeah, I
understand.
think that's one of the greatest perks of knowing languages is to get that little edge. Like even knowing a couple of phrases when you go to a foreign place, like makes you feel
Mhm.
like you're in control of everything. So it's always nice. And as for the job description, I know so many people that have gone through this exact same sort of thing where they needed to know English, and in my case also French. Like if you try to go to Paris or in France, everybody needs to speak French, so everybody's scrambling. And it's interesting because a lot of people try to learn French very, very strongly. They put a lot of effort, a lot of money, and they kind of lose intensity very, very quickly. So it would be very interesting to know how you learn fluency so fast. What's your
Mhm.
secret?
Well, my story was, oh, the first thing I did was to look at some English course, and then I saw that it was quite expensive for Brazilians, and I was a student still, and then I thought, well, it's too expensive for me. And I also heard about some comments of people who did the course, and it took them many years to learn.
Yeah.
Some people saying like, "Oh, finally, now I'm fluent in English after a long 5 years."
Okay, that's a lot.
So yeah, and then I was thinking I would have to pay so much money and then wait so much time. I had the feeling there was something better.
Mhm.
So I started looking on the internet how to learn English for free and also, let's say, a bit faster. And there was one video that really catched me. It was from a YouTuber explaining how she had like a laptop in her hand, telling how it's possible to learn a language from home. And everything you need is a laptop and internet connection and lots of willpower.
Okay.
And then I really saw that it could be possible to do at home. Then I created a plan and I could achieve what I would say pretty much fluency, be able to hold the conversation in 1 year, studying 1 hour a day from home.
1 hour a day. That's quite the dedication. A lot of people
Yeah.
don't get to do that. And it's interesting that you say like, "Oh, I created a plan." I don't know a lot of people that can say, "Oh, created my own plan." Next thing you know, you're gonna say like, "Oh, I've had an Excel spreadsheet of all of the times I learned languages and all the words." It's like it's a lot of dedication. A lot of people don't get to do any of that, and it's fantastic to see how the system is being rewarding because
Yeah, and talking about that
Yeah.
plan, it would be super interesting to know a bit more about it. Like, what methods or resources worked best for you? How did you made up that plan?
My plan, the initial plan was just to study, let's say, 1 hour a day for 1 year, but it was my first foreign language. So I had no idea what exactly to do. I just started with Duolingo. It was the first option I had. it, and it did work for the last 2 months. I could get many vocabulary. And then the next phases were a bit of try and errors. I tried quite different methods. Some did work, some did not. One that did work was get some material online with easy language. It was what people call the natural approach of learning language. Let's say comprehensible input of easy text or videos. This did work a lot. I also tried to watch my favorite TV series with subtitles and then translate to my own language. It really didn't work because it was too advanced. I needed to stop every like 10 seconds.
Oh boy, yeah.
And it was
Sorry,
very
frustrated.
frustrating.
Yeah, it was funny because I was trying to do the same system with French. I was like putting the show in French with French subtitles, and it took me like 2 years to finally be able to understand
Hmm.
the idea of an episode of Brooklyn 99. Not even like every joke. It's like I know what's going on here, like on a thesis level. I'm not gonna understand everything, but at least I know. And that was 2 years. So it is a very
You're right.
great method for sure, but it has a learning curve, I guess. Like you cannot just immediately put everything into your own language and expect things to be immediately good. You need to have
Hmm.
some education and some basics. So yeah.
This is true.
And
And
one,
also,
oh, go ahead.
sorry,
No,
there
no,
was
go.
also another thing that didn't work, and it was going to talk straight to natives.
Yeah.
I remember there was some, I don't know if it still exists, but there are some websites where you can talk to someone randomly through a webcam called Omigo. And
Mm,
there was also chat roulette. I don't know if they even exist, but then it didn't work because I had the contact with the native person, but the communication was so difficult. Of course, they wouldn't have the patience to talk to me,
Yeah.
so it didn't work. But what did work was language exchange.
yeah.
Yeah, it really worked. I found some people that were learning English also. We created some WhatsApp group, and we also did some Skype calls. Sometimes I've spent quite a few hours during the weekend during Skype calls. Helped a lot.
Interesting. But that was only with people who also learned English and not with natives yet, right? So in the beginning level, you were more with study buddies than actual natives.
Exactly. It was more with people learning English. Later on, it was my last stage, I would say, with English, were talking to a native. I found someone that wanted to learn Portuguese, and
Hmm.
then this woman, yeah, she was from the US. Then we did quite a few exchange programs. It was very cool.
Yeah. And not only is a great way to learn the language, but it's a great way to understand their culture, especially coming, the US is, let's say, of course, right now you're in Germany, so things are a little bit different, but I would assume that at the time when talking to someone from the US, you kind of dreamt about what it's life like in the United States, right?
Mhm. Yeah, it was so interesting, the culture exchange also.
So it's both like fantastic for your actual language learning, but also for your cultural knowledge. And I think that's adorable.
As,
This is
as,
true.
and now what's also quite interesting is actually how did you make the time? How did you like motivate yourself to take this 1 hour a day? Were there any daily habits that you had?
Yeah. I mean, at that time, it was just about this 1 hour a day. But now, when I look back, I did some things unconsciously that really,
Mm.
later on, I learned that it really helps to keep a habit. It was that it was always at the same place and always at the same time,
Uh-huh.
and also tied to two previous habits. That was my university that I was going to do after the learning English, and also the internship that I was going to do before. So in the end, it was a let's say a routine. At first, go to the internship, then learn English, take a shower, and go to the university. And for 1 year, let's say.
That sounds exhausting. That sounds
Yeah.
exhausting. It makes you wonder, like, how did you handle it whenever you didn't have any time or energy?
Hmm. To be honest, there were not so many days, but of course, there are some days when we are not feeling like doing it. And I think the fact that it was always let's say, a routine.
Mhm.
When I was over there trying to learn English, maybe I was not feeling like it, but I was over there already. And what am I going to do? I just needed to wait for the time to go to the university. Then I just did it anyway, even though maybe it was not so, um, maybe it was not a productive day, let's say, but keeping the routine, it makes it easier to just repeat.
So you would have, for example, have maybe you don't hit the entire hour of focused, but you would have like a minimum daily goal. At least, like you could say, oh, at least I done this lesson here on Duolingo, or I did send a couple of messages. That's enough. Or you were truly, truly forcing it uh, to eat that routine and to keep it alive.
Yeah, my daily goal was actually this 1 hour.
Okay, so that's the day. So
Yeah,
that's the minimum. The minimum was the hour of a day.
exactly. So there were really times that I was looking at the clock and say and let's say thinking how much do I need to go.
Yeah, okay, that's fantastic. I like a lot of people again don't get to have that sort of revelation. So it's
Oh.
so inspiring for everybody because like there are some times where I'm talking to people or like trying to learn my languages, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I cannot be bothered, or I like, oh, I'm just gonna do this exercise, and that's good enough for me. Like, no, there's some people have that dedication, and it's very admirable, I would say.
Well, if you're looking at the clock all the time on the wall, if you're thinking in English at least, maybe that's okay.
Okay, at least you can
Wait.
turn it into a nice
Yeah.
lesson.
To wait
Yeah.
for the time to
Yeah,
pass.
Yeah.
that's true. What I have to say is that I was not really unmotivated. And if someone, let's say, if they have decided to learn and then they are feeling so boring, then maybe it's time to search another thing. Because it also happened to me, like watching the series and having to pause every 10 seconds.
Yeah.
I thought it was too boring, and then I started with something new. And this also can, yeah, we don't have to stay with a fixed method all the time.
Mhm. That's that's very inspiring. That's very
It
inspiring.
is.
Yeah. But it makes you wonder. Now, that's like the big problem, at least when a lot of people are starting to learn languages, is the start. The start is always a lot harder than the continuation because you still need to actually establish that routine. But if was there like a breakthrough moment in your memory when you realize, like, yes, I can actually do this. Like, I'm actually good at this.
Uh, yeah, there was. I think in every language I had some. I guess it happens like 3 times during the whole thing. And for me, I guess once was after around 4 months, and then I saw that I could think some things in English. So I was just walking on the street and had I don't know, a random thought, and it was in English, and then I thought, whoa, I
Yes.
can already think in English.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. I remember also having it as well for me for French. It's like I had my first dream in French and I'm like, oh man, I did it. I woke up, I was too distracted by the fact that
This
this
is
song was
amazing.
French, so I didn't get good sleep that night. But it was such a amazing one. It feels so rewarding. So rewarding.
Yeah, this is very good. Mainly because most of the time it's just what people call the plateau.
Yeah.
You just keep studying, you don't see any results, and then suddenly you see like a big result that you can already do something.
Yeah, that's that's a fantastic moment. And one of the next steps after that would be to learn more about the actual, like, you understand the language, sure, but
Hmm.
you get to know how the daily conversations go, slang words, and like the rhythm of the native people once you're there and live there. So that's like a fantastic moment because you get to learn so much about someone's culture as well.
Yeah, this is true.
And we have talked now a lot about your English learning journey. So, how was it different then for Spanish and German? Not so much from the languages, I know they are very different, but from
Hmm.
the like method that you used to study them.
Yeah, they were a bit different, the approach, mostly because now I had the experience at learning a foreign language. So when I started with Spanish, I just applied everything that worked with English, and then just didn't try the other ones that I already knew that was not working. And in my case, it was a bit different with Spanish because it was during an exchange program in Spain.
Ah, okay.
So, and also it was also quite different because Spanish is quite similar to Portuguese.
Mhm.
So the real basic I didn't have to learn. I could
Yeah.
start already trying an interaction with people in Spain. And my approach was try as much contact as I could
Ah,
with
okay.
natives in Spain. So I found an apartment to share with Spanish people. I was I attended the university, everything in Spanish. Also, we're going to the parties where the Spanish people would go instead of going to the international ones where people would be speaking English.
Smart.
So
Very smart. Very smart.
and yeah, it did work this way because they are so similar. And then the whole time I was always trying to learn the whole day. And then after 5 months over there, then I could speak it pretty much. I also had breakthrough moment after around 3 months, kind of, where met a friend that I did over there, and then we're just having a chat, and then I could see that we spoke for around half an hour in Spanish, and we didn't realize it was actually Spanish.
Oh,
It
nice.
was so cool.
Came
And
natural.
for German, it was more similar to English, let's say, because the languages are quite different from Portuguese. And I could summarize it was like 3 stages. Like the first one was Duolingo again. The second one was the natural approach. I was ingesting some easy material, watching some videos for kids, reading some easy texts. And the third one was also language exchange. This one was in person in Munich. There are some apps for finding people like, and also there are some programs and people gather at the university. They just drink a beer and have a chat and talk many different languages. And I just kept doing it until I could, let's say, just talk to a native without problems.
And how much time did it took to get into that level?
And how much beers?
And how many beers? And how many beers?
Uh, it was, well, with German, I didn't measure the time. It was not like the other languages because I was already living in Germany and I was working in English, let's say. So I was trying to learn a bit every day, but I was not very, uh, I didn't have a routine. But if I can put, I didn't put much effort daily because there was a work and it was everything in English. I would say that after 1 year, I could have some basic conversation, but very not much, I would say.
Mhm.
And to an advanced level, it was when I could get, let's say, a job and work in German. It was after 3 years,
Yeah.
but as I said, not putting too much time effort.
Yeah. I mean, that's still pretty impressive. 3 years to get
Yeah.
into the level where you can fully get a job somewhere because, like, even if you're not calculating it, it's still very, very impressive. German, it's not necessarily known to being a language that you can quickly pick up and play. It's always been considered as one of the hardest, I think, especially for Latin speakers. I couldn't even imagine for someone that doesn't, for the Latin speakers that have the same script. Imagine someone that has come from China trying to learn German. It definitely would be a lot harder than that as well. So it's very impressive. Like that shouldn't be.
Yes,
I
it's
know that
true.
you're saying like, oh, I didn't put too much thought into the time or how much, but that's still extremely, extremely impressive.
And before we dive a bit more into this, how much you needed it for your profession and for your jobs, there's one more thing that I have in mind right now that I would like to know. Like, how did you get to the material that was like all these basic stuff, like children's things and so on? Did you collect it yourself? Did you find some resources on the internet? Like, that would be super interesting, maybe for those who want to start a language and want to try this natural approach that you were talking about.
Yeah, it was through YouTube actually. I just searched on YouTube
Classic.
many material. And also, this method is actually quite known. It's from the Professor Stephen Krashen. So, for example, I was trying to learn French some months ago, and then I started to look for natural approach for French, and then I saw a channel on YouTube of a person that talk to you and then do drawings and everything in French, talking an easy language. So let's say all of my material it was basically YouTube.
Okay.
Hmm. Yeah, I definitely know a lot of people that have been using YouTube as well. Like it's been like such a revolutionary way of doing languages. Now, back in my day, I lied. I actually used YouTube to learn languages as well, so I can't say back in my day. Sorry.
So for those who are listening here on YouTube, actually,
Yeah,
we don't
exactly.
even have to change the medium how
Yeah.
it was if you want to study a language.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
finish this podcast episode first and then you read. Okay, don't leave now. That's not good. Just finish this and then you can just type up. If you have some specific channels that like you believe were other than this professor, but like other channels that you thought that were particularly awesome when learning languages, if you know them by heart, you can tell us. Otherwise, it's fine. We can just they can just discover that on their own.
Yeah, for my case, I was just looking at the internet because for each language there is different materials.
Yeah.
And if I decide to learn a new language right now, I'll just search the for the internet for some easy material, let's say.
Let's just say there's enough. There's enough material for
There
you
is.
to learn. There's enough places. You don't have to go ultra like analytical on which one is technically a little bit better. Like there's tons of options, and that's great to hear.
Yeah, and
But
I think it also I think it also changes uh, depending on the stage you are. Because if you are a very, very beginner, then it's better to find a material that is maybe a video, someone trying to explain something, do some drawings. But if you are already a bit intermediate, a podcast would already be very useful if you can understand, let's say, at least 40%. And then if you are, let's say, a bit more advanced, then yeah, maybe a normal YouTube channel would already be useful.
Okay.
yeah, and now that we're going to the like the top echelon of flexing your language skills, it's when you use it in the workplace. So I would love to ask is like how have of course English, Spanish, and German helped you in your professional career?
They were quite a boost, let's say.
Hell yeah.
Let's say with Spanish, I could get, let's say, higher grades in the University of Salamanca in Spain. I could get a recommendation letter from a Spanish teacher, and I could
Wow.
use it for applying for jobs.
Yes.
Then, well, English, it was for getting this first job in Germany. It was everything in English. So, yeah, it was really useful. And then German for getting a job at a German company, Allianz.
Look at that. Look at this. Look at the clean hierarchical, like changes between jobs. That's a dream. That's just a dream.
Is do you apply all these languages regularly?
It depends. Some of them, yes. Like German, I apply daily because of my job. Also, Spanish, I have many Spanish friends, Spanish speaking friends. And let's say English, sometimes, and not that much, only when I'm traveling or in some events like right now.
Yeah.
Italian, only sometimes, also, not much, only if I travel to Italy or if I meet an Italian person.
That's all you need, honestly. As an Italian man, I can say like if you're speaking Italian outside of Italy, like you sure you go ahead, buddy. Like don't worry about it. You don't feel pressured of not speaking Italian. But so yeah, like you got to apply so many languages at once, and sometimes it can bring some challenges. So like, what's your biggest challenge of applying new languages in work environments?
Hmm. Tough question.
Yeah, I
I
know.
think I think the biggest challenge, at least in my case right now, that I'm working for a German company with many natives, I think the biggest challenge is to convey credibility for the natives speaking as a foreigner, let's say, because I think you need to be careful about speaking the language correctly, not make much mistakes. Because if you are, let's say, if you are giving an advice or discussing about some important topic, and then you are doing so many mistakes in the language, this can make the person think that you are not professional enough, or you don't have the competence enough, which is not always, which of course it doesn't have to be one thing with another. It's just the level of the language. So it's necessary, I would say, when talking to natives, to keep, let's say, a professional tone and also be able to speak the language, which is quite not easy.
Yeah, I never thought about it that way because there's a lot of people, including myself, that tend to be like a lot more loose when they talk, even professionally. So they kind of can circumvent the mistakes by kind of having the little openness and being more dynamic with their talk.
Mm.
But I would assume that, especially when you're not in the super mega level of fluency and you're still learning it, it can be very hard to convey the seriousness. That's a very interesting point. I did not absolutely think of that at all. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say also that it depends on the company. Let's
Of
say I
course.
was already in a company,
Mhm.
yeah, in an international company, for example, where the language is English and there are so many people from everywhere in the world. So it's way more relaxed because
Yeah.
it's so many people, probably so many people are mispronouncing things.
Yeah.
Then
Also
it's
depends on
more
the role.
relaxed.
Also depends on the role. Like if you're someone that is like a
Uh-huh.
consultant, you have to get things right because you have to communicate with external people. But if you're like an engineer in the inside,
Mhm.
people kind of start to get your talking, and it's just like it's a great way for you to be like more, I guess, loose with your talking and kind of using that as a learning opportunity. So there's definitely a lot of other different types of pressure all over the workplace. The workplace is not like a completely plateau or flat um,
Yeah, this is
setup.
true.
Yeah. So like you've been using it, like you've managed to find jobs because of your languages. But do you think the work itself can be a powerful driver of language learning?
The work itself, I would
Yeah.
say definitely. At least it was in my case. The first time I learned a foreign language, let's say English, it was because of professional opportunities, let's say.
Mhm.
And also some people, maybe they want to try a new job and then maybe some language is required. I think it definitely is a driver.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even though you already have the job, you keep on or want to keep on learning and you don't stop because you got the job.
Yeah. And also,
Exactly.
there's some places where like people usually think that, like for example, let's say, oh, I know that in this country they don't really talk to coworkers, so I'm just gonna stay on my corner, do my job, and leave. And everybody's like, oh, I don't need this. I don't need to learn the language because I'm not gonna talk to my coworkers anyways. No, you will. No, you will. You will. And there's nothing you can do about it. Just because they're a little bit colder than where you're from does not mean that there's no communication. There's plenty of communication. And actually, the times where you're going to talk to somebody are even more important to know the language well. So it's definitely a great way for people to learn languages.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also think so.
Sorry, I thought you wanted to add something. uh,
Yeah.
did being multilingual actually make the transition from Brazil to Germany easier, or did it bring you into new challenges?
It made it easier, of course.
Ah.
Um, because let's say if I only spoke Portuguese, I would arrive in Germany. For me to be able to have friends, I would need to find someone that speak Portuguese.
Mhm.
But I could speak also English and Spanish, so it's way easier. With English, we can communicate with. Well, in Germany, I could communicate with almost everyone, and with Spanish, I could have many Spanish-speaking friends. It were and when we move to a new country, of course, in the beginning it's a bit difficult. You have no friends, you don't know anyone. And if you can speak different languages, at least you have a broader range of people to whom you can socialize and communicate.
Yeah, and it's also there are also some parts on the more bureaucratical side that also can help. Sometimes you know some languages and you receive like a ticket or like a sort of letter from the government that maybe you don't understand fully, but at least with some tools or
Yeah.
going a little bit of understanding how sentences are structured or the way that they're framed can allow you to understand better what's going on. So I feel like not only is the social aspect of the one that helps, but also on the actual objective starting to live there side. It's also very
Mhm.
important that knowing languages can really, 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 really help. So, like, do you think that you like now that you're in German and now you've learned Germany? That's fantastic. But do you think it was okay learning German in Germany, or maybe you would have had preferred to, have it already studied in Brazil already? Not sure if I
No, I
okay.
no, yeah, it was clear. For me, it didn't make a difference actually. In Germany, I could communicate with people in English, so I had no problem during the beginning. If yeah, it was pretty fine with English, and then I could just learn German uh, slowly at home until I could speak it.
So you never felt like that, like pressured into learning German as fast as possible, or like maybe if you were like back in Brazil learning Germany would be a lot more easy, or like you don't have to think about it too much, or the implications of living there. Because I'm thinking that's what when I ask this question is more like, do you like when I was in France and I was learning French, I was always like, oh my God, I have to get super fast, super quick, otherwise I'm gonna starve and be under the bridge, starving because I cannot do it. But if I were like back in school in Rome, I could take the time to actually learn the language first and then be prepared to come there. And maybe that
Mhm.
thought never happened, I would assume.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I've been to France before.
Hell
I,
yeah.
I
Yeah, that's
think
the great French expert.
yes, I think the difference is that the German people they usually learn English at
Yeah.
school and they speak English very well. So I never had problems with communication using English in Germany. Also going to the offices, let's say the state offices, everything could be done in English.
Brilliant. Nice.
Maybe for everybody who's listening and thinking now, oh, I want to go to Germany too with my English. This is more for the big cities, actually.
Of course.
So if you ever like come here and get a job in a smaller town or do a social year or pair or whatever, you probably need to study German before. I'm
Yeah.
afraid.
I think it like any place has to have you cannot survive completely on English alone. It's
Yeah.
just like at this right now our sample base is like Munich and Berlin.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
unfortunately it's not the most like a comprehensive German only experience.
That's
So
Yeah, yeah, it's true. I was always in Munich and also working in a company with so many international people.
yeah. So
So it was okay in this environment.
yeah, but German is also extremely still very useful. Don't get me wrong. For people that are interested in learning German, you again learn German. If you're interested in going to Germany, you want to learn German. Maybe it's just better for everybody. But now let's talk a little bit. We're coming a little bit to the close, to the end of this program, but I do have some questions regarding now coming back to the professionals learning languages. What's like one mistake that you see like busy learners like yourself make that holds them back?
What I've seen is many people they are quite busy, right, working the whole week,
Yeah.
and then they take the Saturday to do an English course, and
Mhm.
then they do maybe Saturday in the morning. I think it would be better to learn a bit every day
Yeah.
and do all of this on Saturday. Let's say if they do like half an hour day, it's better than doing 3 hours and a half on a Saturday.
Yeah. I do think it's
Okay.
yeah, the audio is not.
That's indolent to you.
yeah,
Yeah.
the audio. I completely agree that people should take the time to do constant, maybe 30 minutes a day, 1 hour a day, but like continuously do a language learning and not focus their entire learning language into like the day that they have free time. I'm making this mistake as we speak right now with my Japanese lessons because, yeah, I'm talking to Japanese natives as well. But for a while, I was also doing lessons every Sunday morning, because in Germany, the Sundays are definitely a good time to do sort of hobbies like that. But it does make it feel like you're remembering things for an entire day, and then on Monday, you're completely distracted by something else and you don't remember. So that constant 30 minutes, 1 hour a day, it has so many more
Mhm.
applications than continuously putting this into one big session on one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I also think a good comparison is that many people think learning a language is like ingesting new knowledge or new information, but when actually it's more similar to physical exercise, like a
Yeah.
sport. That's something that you have to do regularly
Yeah.
and never stop doing, because if you just stop, you lose the shape, let's say.
Yeah, that's true. Like also continuing after you even arrived at some point. That's something that a lot of people don't think about.
Yeah.
They treat it as like, oh, I'm gonna learn how to ride a bike and then I will remember it forever. Not necessarily muscle memory per se, but yeah, no, it's definitely something that needs to be kept alive as much as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And practice is the key here.
Practice is the key. Consistent practice, and a good environment of people that you can talk to and are eager to learn languages. I think those are the three ones that we can focus on.
Do you think that motivation or method is more important for people who don't have a lot of time?
A difficult one.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a toss up, but you know, you have to keep the big guns for the last part of the show.
Yeah, well, there are some methods that I believe are way more that's faster than, well, let's say there are methods that I believe are faster than the others, but I think motivation really beats any method, because let's say if a person doesn't have much time, if this person have only half an hour, if the person is really motivated, the person is going to really use this time very productive and be paying attention all of the time. And if the motivation doesn't exist, even the method is good, the person is not going to be very concentrated. I think it would be like, I guess anyone know, when we were at school, the teacher was like explaining something for the last 20 minutes and we were thinking something completely different.
Yeah.
We had no idea what she told. I think this is what happened when someone is trying to learn without motivation.
Yeah. And I think it's great because when you're completely motivated, you can even find language learning everywhere that you look. Even if you don't have a good system for you to learn stuff, the great thing is that motivation allows you to think creatively and try to extract as much knowledge as possible, even in the most unlikely spots. You know, maybe one day you're so motivated, you just turn around your candy bar and you just start learning all of the different ways that ingredients are said in different languages. That's a method, you know.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, don't do it with shampoo bottles, because with shampoo bottles, everything is completely unreadable. So unless you want to learn chemical names in German, but you could do it with like I've done it with recipes. That's like I've been my go-to is to learn recipes in certain languages and use that as a way to kind of cover a lot of elements at once. Even if it's it's time to cook, you have to cook by yourself, so it's not necessarily your hour of learning.
Yeah.
But I think it's a great way. That's my recommendation, I would say.
Yeah. It always helps to have some relevance to your daily life, to add it and to combine it to the learning.
Yes, that's what motivation allows you to do.
Yeah.
Motivation really allows you to combine things that really you care about and make it fun and learn languages. 3 in 1. You can't beat it.
Nice.
You can't beat it. Yeah.
So we can wrap this up here
Exactly.
with maybe one last question for you, Elzo. So if you had to give one piece of advice to somebody who was working full-time but also dreaming about becoming multilingual, what would it be?
I would say start small every day, just a little bit. It doesn't have to be much, but really start and never give up, let's say. Because maybe some people only create excuses. I don't have time. They don't even start. But I think starting and keeping the consistency is the key.
Okay, no cheat days here.
No cheat
Exactly.
day. Consistency is keys. Never stop. And I think those are fantastic words to cap off this very, very wonderful episode of the Connected by Language. Thank you so much, Elzo, for being here with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
And if you have, your own little project or somewhere where people can learn about your ways, or simply like if there's something that you would like to promote, this is the best time to do it.
No, I don't have any, actually.
Okay, yeah.
That's fine.
That's a big flex. I know people always come here and like, oh, I have a channel. No, Nothing.
Oh,
So, but
nothing
just
different.
words of wisdom. Let's just call it that.
Yeah.
So again, thank you all so much for watching this episode of the Connected by Language podcast. If you liked the video, please like, subscribe. And hey, have you found some interesting ways of learning your own language? Just comment down below. And Spotify people, you also can comment. So you don't have any excuse. So please comment, okay? But in general, yes. So thank you again so much for watching. It's been a fantastic time. I've been your host, Michele, and joined by my co-host,
Michelle.
and I guess we can see each other on the next episode. I can't wait to see what new dedicated language learner we're going to find next.
Yeah, me too.
So, bye-bye.
Bye.